choreographed the fighting sequence with our sequence. I was using Kajukembo, which is a Hawaiian martial arts. It came 1945. Each syllable represents a style. Korean karate, ka, judo, jujitsu, ken, kempo, bo, Chinese boxing. We were using mostly kempo, but a modern version of that kempo, using knees and elbows. And then, yeah, some kicking, which is from the Korean karate. But the knife technique, of course, I copied from different martial arts action films, but my knife techniques come from the Filipino martial arts. I would say the timing, and also that, you know, because it's not real fighting, that we have to keep. There's a certain rhythm, and we can't really hurt each other. So sometimes Masato would fight like a street fighter. So he'd be like kind of really trying to cut, you know. And it's like no, it's movie making. You have to relax and just keep the flow. It looks better. Yeah. So, and it's hard to sometimes cue each other. So nobody got hurt. But that's the most challenging thing. Asano Sensei, I think, is an awesome sword fighter. It's incredible. I don't know much about Japanese swordsmanship, but I think he's good. I think he's a real master, and I can see from his body that he knows what he's doing. And I'd like to study with him. What impressed me was that he moved with the sword and his body as one piece. And with his footwork, it was very precise, and he flowed. He didn't hesitate. He didn't go left and right to go straight. He just went straight. So he has good control of his body and the sword. Well, cutting the apple is very impressive. I don't think that's easy to do. And since Toshi made me feel the real, I only practiced with Boken before, so when I finally touched the real sword, the weight of the sword, I never realized it was so heavy. So I think it's a lot harder to swing than Boken. So to see Asano Sensei be able to cut the apple with a sword that weighs so much is very impressive. I thought his acting was very good. I find that he was very funny. He found humor in a very serious way. He wasn't trying to be funny. He was just funny. So when he responded, it's very interesting because it was very natural. So sometimes I told you when I was acting with him, and I would be a very mean guy, and I would say, you know, what are you still doing here? You know, and his lips would quiver like this. Satoshi, close up, get this. So it was very natural for him, and I don't think he expected to react that way. Yeah. So as an actor, to have that very natural response without planning it is good acting. It's good reacting. Yeah. Yeah. He's a very natural actor. He's a natural yakuza. When I first met Masato, Toshi picked him up at the airport. I recognized him right away. I thought, maybe that's the guy who's playing Kanzaki in the movie. But I wasn't sure because he didn't have his sunglasses on. But as I see him, you know, he's very soft and gentle, and he's smiling all the time. So I was like, okay. So I didn't think, that can't be Kanzaki. And yeah, and the way he's walking, it's like, that's not Kanzaki walk. So I wasn't quite sure, but So it's very interesting. I thought I know you're very nervous about your acting and everything, but I thought it was very good that you were able to transform to this kind of like a Yakuza type character. You have the walk, you have the look, the sunglasses, very look kakuin, you know. But in real life, you're not like that at all. Yeah. So I was very surprised, and even though, you're not really actor taking classes, you're very natural. Yeah. It's a very strong performance. Yeah. Even your fighting, I think, well, I mean, his character is kind of a very cool, cool guy. You know, there's a Yakuza. He reminds me of Scarface, you know. It's like, what was the line? It says like, meet my little friend. So like when he had the machine gun. So that's the image. But it's like he's kind of like this superhero character, but really cool, and it's like even though people are shooting at him, he doesn't get shot, and things are very easy for him, right? So if he punches, he's like, you know, if he shoots, it's like he doesn't give a shit, you know. If he, a gun is like, and then he smokes later, you know. So it's very interesting when Kanzaki kills me at the end after the knife fight. I had this really cool choreography in the way I would die. So Kanzaki kills me and I would like and fall down, very samurai-like. But then Toshi comes up with this idea at the very last minute. Kanzaki hits me at the back of the head after I die. So I thought, that's gonna look really stupid. What is that? I don't understand. But so we did it anyway. I said, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do. You know, I'm only an actor. So finally we did it. So then when I actually watched it, I didn't realize it was very, very funny. The timing was right, and it was very much in your character, Kanzaki character. You know, that kind of like a cool way. You know, I kill him. It was easy. It was nothing. Now I can go eat my dinner and drink my beer. It was just, it's very funny. There was a lot of humor in it without trying to be funny. Victor Han. First he was Hans. Now he's Victor Han. My character. Well, you remember. I didn't really know what you asked me to do the film with you, and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what you wanted. Only that you wanted to work with me. And then you saw a student film that I did that I put up on, I think it was YouTube, and I was getting angry and yelling. And then you said, that's the character I want. I said, well, what does he want? He wants me to yell at people and be angry and be violent? So I really didn't have any idea coming from the plane. So I rehearsed a little bit of the script that you gave me, but I wasn't sure. And we talked about it that night that I came at your place. And then finally when I got to meet everybody, all the guys that were in the film, we came up with some ideas, and I was trying some things out. I don't really remember, but then as I started moving along, the character started to, as we started filming, started to develop on its own. So the second day, it just started to build. And then the third day, I started to become more and more like the character. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to build it of anything. It just kind of happened. It just kind of came up. I don't know how to explain it. I guess that's the magic of acting. But you're mean. No, I met Toshi a long time ago. I don't even remember. It was over 15 years ago at Haruo Matsuoka Sensei's dojo. It was Doshi no Kai, I think it was. Yeah. And I don't remember much of our first meeting. All I remember was that he's always trying to challenge me, you know. It's like every time I try to do a technique or what we call Kihon Waza, which is a set form with with a partner, with two people, he would always like, you know, he says, muscle me, even in the middle of the technique, and I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know what I did to him, but you know, whatever. So I ended up throwing, blocking, whatever, hurting him, what. So eventually we became friends. I don't know how that happens. I don't know what else to say. The camera makes me nervous, so I'm just like talking, so I can't talk naturally. I know that I knew that you kept talking about that you were a student filmmaker, I think, and then you just graduated. And since I was an actor and I liked, I always wanted to do action films. I thought maybe Toshi and I could work together as actor, director, or whatever, stuntman. So we didn't have any ideas how to get started. So I was living near Griffith Park, where the Hollywood sign was in California. So I invited him and a friend of mine named Victor Moyano. We were all in the same Aikido club, Doshinukai, together, and we would work out. And so I just said, hey guys, let's go together, go to Griffith Park, and shoot some action films using martial arts, using Aikido and using the martial arts that I know, Kempo that I know, and just see what happens. And Toshi, you can like maybe practice learning to see which angle is the best, what it looks good and dramatic for this certain move and that certain move. Well, when you sent me the clips that you had filmed already on YouTube, I wasn't so sure. I was kind of like, do I want to be in this film? I don't know. Does Toshi know what he's doing? The action that you shot was very, very good, and they were very impressive. However, there was no storyline, so I was a little confused. And there were a lot of blackouts. It took a long time, so I'm like, what story is he trying to tell? And you said, just look at it, and then maybe he'll give you an idea of how to develop your character and how to develop a story. And I'm like, well, no, you're the writer, you're the director, so I wasn't really quite sure until I had met with you once I came to Japan and I was in your room and we were talking about what it is that you wanted, what world you wanted, the atmosphere you wanted to create, and what was the expectation that you had of me. And then you started talking about filmmaking and what you've been studying, and what it is that you wanted to accomplish in filmmaking. Like the Jackie Chan method of filming and things like that. It was very interesting because I didn't know anything about it. I think as we went along, as we started to film, the first day of shooting was very interesting, and I was very impressed when you showed me the footage that we had shot. And I thought, oh, that was very good. The second day, what I didn't feel so good about, but as we went along, and you started to show me the footage, towards the last day, you showed us the film itself. What I saw was an actual story. I saw the logic of the story. We actually, at the end of the film, at least with my filming, there was a thread, there was a storyline. We actually had a movie. And that to me was very interesting. I didn't think that was going to happen. But it was a very interesting collaboration, and I think it wasn't only your idea, it was everybody's idea. Everybody that worked in the film, the actors were also crews. They were part of the crew, and they also helped write the story. So everybody's just sort of like collaborated and worked together to make the story, and it was an ensemble, and that to me was very interesting and very fascinating. And I think that's what made it successful in a way. Hopefully the audience likes it. What's really interesting is that at least it appears to me when I'm watching the footage, the film, that the characters are very mean and very violent, but in reality these actors are very funny. We were always laughing, and they're gentle, you know, and they're very nice people, so it's very interesting. Even for myself, I didn't think I could like pull it off and be like, you know, I was like, how am I gonna be like this bad guy, you know, so it's very interesting how that came about. Maybe you guys were watching too many Yakuza movies. Well, the chief, well, I don't know that much about guns. I've never shot guns, so it was very impressive that even this guy who's only a cosplayer, right, is able to come up with the choreography of the gunfights. Because I've seen a lot of action films, and when I watch this, it's very impressive because it looks very real. It looks like what they do in an action film. So I think it's really great. I think it's very awesome. As a performer, he's very enthusiastic. So sometimes so enthusiastic that I think maybe he wants to do too much. So he reacts too much. But it was great because that's what you want. You want somebody who's really involved. Wants to have fun. But I think it added a lot to his character, and added a lot to the scene, and added a lot to the story. And like I said, it really shaped the movie. So his own personality as a person really added to the film. And yeah, it brought a lot of character. I think what's interesting in the film is that there are so many different characters that it created a world of its own. That's very interesting. Everybody was very different. The rhythm was very different, but it wasn't the same. Well, the difference between Toshi's films and today's films, and this is an action film. I think it's an action film. One thing that came out was humor. The film, the footage that I saw in the United States didn't really have that humor. But as we started filming here in Japan, when I came in, the humor started to come. At first with the pizza, because he and I talked about it, and then eventually it sort of like, it was sort of, I don't know, it just kind of bled through. We started to work more and more on the humor. And I think that's very much like Toshi's personality, you know. He likes to laugh, and he likes comedy, so that came in. But we weren't trying to be funny. As you saw, we were all very serious, you know, as actors and as characters, you know, and it was violent, and we were like doing very mean things. But there were a lot of funny moments. Hopefully the audience will think the same way and can read that. So that's very, to me that was very interesting. Almost like I don't know if I can compare it to a Quentin Tarantino movie, but it's that, it has that, like, there's the violence, but underneath the violence, underneath the seriousness, there was a lot of humor, there was a lot of comedy. And then there's another thing, something that I'm not an expert on, and I wouldn't claim to be an expert on. But Toshi was talking about how he would shoot a film. So when you shoot an action film, they usually like action, and then you have cut, and then you cut the action, and so on and so forth. And so you don't really know the sequence of the fight, what's really happened. So you can cover an actor's inability to be able to, like if an actor is really not a martial artist who can't do the movement, then you can just cut, and it looks very impressive. But but it's not impressive as when you watch Bruce Lee, for example, you can see the whole sequence of the fight. And then Toshi was educating me on how Jackie Chan does it, you know. You can see exactly what's happening from the beginning, middle, and the end of the fight. So there's that whole sequence because of wide shots. Is what we're talking about. Anyway, I'll leave it up to you to talk about that. The other thing about the film that's very different is the different styles of fighting arts, martial arts styles. So not only there were gunfights, right, but like when Toshi and Asano Sensei face each other off with the swords, yeah, that's very much like a Japanese swordsmanship, real swordsmanship, not like shambara. And I will let you talk about that, Toshi, because I'm not really educated in that field. And with my fighting scene, again, that was more like from the kajikamo that I learned. Usually I just say kempo if you don't understand it. And then also the knife fighting, you can see examples of either in the Filipino martial arts or silat, which is in the Indonesian martial arts. So the different styles of fighting, and then with kanzaki, you know, was kind of like a mixture. Yeah, and you were talking about Toshi, how he's more like a street fighter. So I thought that was very interesting, as opposed to most movies have only one style of fighting. Here it was like a mixture. So that's very interesting, and hopefully we can see that more in future movies. So in regards to the different fighting styles in the film, there was also Aikido. I forgot to mention Aikido. Toshi was using Aikido, and or we say Aikido in America, but it's Aikido. So so Aikido was also used in the film. I forgot to mention that. So that's very important.